This is Queen Amidala's throne room gown as I made it in 2020. Since then, I have grown significantly as a seamstress and cosplayer, and I decided at the end of 2023 that I wanted to try my hand at improving upon this cosplay. Beginning with the headpiece, which originally was a piece that utilized my own hair over a base made of paper and tape, with the then metallic part of the headpiece, which I made out of paper and duct tape, over the top tied on to my head. I want to improve this with extensions left over from my Senate gown cosplay and make it into just its own separate headpiece that does not use my hair. For the dress itself, I wanted to make the fur trim look nicer. I wanted to make it thicker, especially around the sleeves and the base of the dress, and then also add to the kind of shoulder decoration part, make the fur a little bit better there, and then remove the wired fur from the center piece of the decoration because it just made it the wrong shape. And then lastly, the most important part was that I wanted to find a way to make the base of the dress lay flat. I had originally attempted to do this with cardboard in 2020, but as you could see in the original picture, this didn't quite work out. Fortunately, I had a hula hoop laying around that was the perfect size for the base of this dress. So what I'm actually going to do first is I'm going to rip out as much of this cardboard as I can, because I realized that in order to get it to fit over and stick to the hula hoop better, that's going to need to be out of there. So now that I've gotten off as much of the cardboard as I can, I'm going to glue on the hula hoop. We'll see how that goes. This is Dressing the Galaxy, The Costumes of Star Wars by Trisha Bigger. My mom got this for me for Christmas as I was working on this project, and it was really cool for me to get to see the up-close pictures of the throne room gown. So I just finished gluing the hula hoop in, and the bottom lays flat now. I think once I get the thicker fur on around here, it'll look even better. I might have to build up some other sort of structure inside the skirt. As you can see, it's a little bit floppy here instead of this straight down like it is in the movie. But this dress form is a little bit shorter than I am, so I'm going to try it on first and just see if the extra height helps it a little bit. Okay, so I tried it on, and the skirt does have a good shape with the inch or two extra height I have on the mannequin. So my next step is going to be taking these off the edges of the sleeves. They have wire in them, and they just kind of give it a weird shape since it holds the shape of the wire. And then obviously I'll be replacing it with some of that thicker fur, the same that I'll put around the bottom. Okay, both sleeves are done. I also ended up taking the fur off of the bottom hem. I wasn't originally planning to, but it was pretty easy to get it off the sleeves, so I decided to just go for it. It did unfortunately kind of rip the fabric up from the hula hoop, so I had to re-glue most of that, but that's done now. I'm hoping I'll be able to go get some fur to replace this soon, but we'll see. My original plan for the headpiece was to use the base structure that I originally had and then just extend it so that it would go the whole way more around my head in that kind of ovalish shape that her headpiece is in the movies. So I tried this at first. It did not end up working out, so I pivoted to doing something similar to what I did for the Senate gown headpiece, using foam and then wrapping it with fabric, using some hot glue, sewing a little bit, and then just doing some layers of that. I used some stuffing, covered that with more fabric and hot glue to really help give it that shape that it has, and then coated all of that in duct tape. I then realized that it still wasn't quite the right shape compared to the reference photos of her headpiece, so I just ended up using some more foam and stuffing and duct tape to help fill out the shape a little bit more. Took a break from cutting all the fur off of this because it is much harder than it was getting the fur off of the sleeves and the bottom of the dress. remembering now that I used a different fabric for this than I did the base dress, and apparently the hot glue likes to stick to it much more, so I've been cutting the wire part out of the fur. And you can see there's still lots of fur left here, but that's okay, that'll get covered up again. The main goal is just to get the wire part out. But I found this, which is the template I used to paint the design on here. So what I did was I pulled up a reference image on my computer, taped the paper over the screen, and slowly traced out all the details that go on this long piece here. And then I gotta be honest with you, I don't remember how I got this onto the fabric, but judging from these marks here, what I'm gonna assume is I attempted to somehow bleed the Sharpie through onto it. I'm not really sure. It's possible I tried to use a light board trick for this as well, where I put it under the fabric and tried to shine a light through from the back so I could see it. But yeah, so that took a really long time, but I think it turned out really well, and I'll go back through my camera roll and see if I have any pictures of what this process looked like. Although I doubt that I do, because I was not very good at documenting my work at the time, and let's be honest, I am still not. I finished gluing the hair on, and I am so excited about this. I still have some extra bits of extensions, so if there end up being any gaps that I'm noticing tomorrow, I can refill it in. And at some point I'll go through and try and like kind of tame down some of the flyaways, because obviously Queen Amidala has like a very sleek look. It's not at all stable in my head at the moment, but I think once I get the front piece, I'll be able to attach something like, this is like a little comb part that from one of the extensions. I think I can attach that to the front and it'll help stick it in and stabilize it, since the headpiece is all gonna be one piece. I'm so excited. So my original headpiece thing doesn't really fit the new hair at all, which makes sense because it is taller than, you know, my previous one. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of use it as a base pattern and cut the like side flaps out of this red foam that I have, that I didn't end up using for my Senate gown, and use some foam clay to make the part in the center. And then I think I have more of this red lace in my fabric stash somewhere, so I'm gonna look for that at some point, because I do like how that effect works and how it matches the reference photos. These pieces will also be made out of a combination of probably foam paper and foam clay. And this top piece, actually, I do like quite a bit, so I might remove that and use it in the new version. We'll see. This part here is actually a rubber ball that I painted, and I just think the effect works really well. I'm taking this apart to start using as a template, and remembering this isn't even a cardboard box. This is just black cardstock covered with so many layers of paint and tape and hot glue. So I'm gonna try and lay this out on my sheet of foam and vaguely trace around it, see how it fits on here. So I have to make sure that that works properly. And then go from there. But aside from finishing that, I went to Joann's and Michael's today to find some fur for the trim, and I ended up finding this fabric at Michael's. I've worked with furry fabric, I think once before, and I swear that I would never do it again, but that was hand sewing it onto a pair of pants, and this time I will be hot gluing it, so I'm hoping that will go better. Okay, this is my final progress for today. As I've already shown, I finished up the hair attaching to the base, and then I used this and that and made a paper pattern for the kind of wing thin parts and got those cut out. They are a layer of foam sandwiched between two layers of like thick drawing paper, so they'll fit on like that. Right here. And leaving that gap down there for the gold ear cup thing. So this is what we got right now. It looks a little bit better when I have it pinned in place, which I don't right now, but obviously it'll all be like glued down in the end. But yeah, and I've put some hot glue over this part to texture it, which will hide some of these paper textures in the end, and then it'll be spray painted and it'll look kind of like the metal texture, and I'll probably do the same to the flaps as well. Okay, so the base of the headpiece is done. The only part that's not currently attached is this bit, which will go up here because it is already painted and I don't want to mess up the red and gold distinction when I paint the rest of this and attach the fabric. It does still need the little part with the gem that goes right here. I'm probably going to take that off of my last piece and use some foam clay just to make it look a little bit neater and fix that up. But yeah, so I have went in and textured these with hot glue the same way I did this part up here. I'm going to take this all apart. I'm going to take the pins out here and separate this from the hair so that I can paint it, probably with spray paint, and then figure out how to get this attached here and up here. Knowing myself, I admit that I probably will end up just using hot glue, but I'm going to see if there are better, neater ways I can do it first. Okay, so as you saw, I just tried that on and I am so happy with how it turned out. I have this, the foam clay just needs to dry before I can paint it and attach it to there. So the next step will be painting the headpiece, and then attaching the fabric, and that will be the end of the headpiece. Well, I guess also figuring out how to attach this part to that part, and making sure it's stable on my head will be the last steps for that. And then I just have to reattach fur to the dress and maybe coat the little shining orb things. I gotta remember what the proper name for those are. There is one. About a week ago, I finished painting the headdress. Now I am working on covering it with the red lace fabric, and then I'll attach the jewel that goes at the thing and the jewel that goes at the front and the little tower-like thing that goes on top. And then we'll have to see about actually attaching it to the hair base. So last night, I finished up this part of the headpiece, except I still have to spray paint it before I can attach it to the base. And I don't feel like doing that right now, so I'm going to start cutting this up to line the hem and the sleeves of the dress. I ended up getting a decent amount done yesterday, most of which was vacuuming after cutting up the hairy, furry fabric. But I got the fabric attached to the sleeve cuffs and to this part down here. Now, because the fur up here and up here really doesn't match the new additions, I don't know how well that comes across on camera, but in real life it's pretty clear that it doesn't match. I'm gonna go ahead and cover these parts with some of the fur fabric so that it matches. I'm gonna definitely leave the wired fur up here though, so that it helps keep its structure. Down here I might rip it off, or I might just cover over it, we'll see. So something else I'm going to do that I didn't think I was going to do at the start of the project because I hadn't really thought about it was, I don't know what reference pictures I was looking at initially, that I painted the bottoms of these silver. It doesn't really make sense when you consider the gold detailing of the dress. Here you can clearly see that they look like kind of a brown, like a color that kind of matches the fur. So I'm gonna go over the silver with a coat of brown. Okay, I'm just trying the headpiece on one more time before I try and glue it all together. It's still just pinned right now. I put some nets over this part, the nets that were on the hair extensions to keep them nice while they shipped and were in the package and whatnot. And you can't really see them, which is good, and it makes it look a lot neater, so that's nice. And I think it fits pretty well, so I'm gonna go ahead and try and glue it down. And with that, I was done with upgrading this cosplay, so now for the final reveal, along with some lines from E.K. Johnston's Queen's Peril, a part of her series of Padme books that got me into cosplaying Padme in the first place. Padme dressed for the Chancellor's ambassadors with as much care as she might have under better circumstances. She wore the red dress with the wide skirt and shoulders again. It was the most wearable dress she had that was suitably regal, made so by careful design and patchouli fur trim. Yane had tweaked the outfit so that Padme no longer required an underdress. She had just a jumpsuit on, and the dress supported itself. That made the outfit lighter and easier to move in. Yane did an impeccable job of her makeup, and by the time the headpiece slid on, the jewel of Zenda pressing against her forehead, Padme was feeling almost confident. So with that project done, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's obviously a super special cosplay to me, having done it for the first time during the COVID-19 lockdown. I started the headdress just as a way to kind of occupy my time, to be able to do something even while stuck inside, just using materials that I found around the house. So, you know, pulling through the recycle, using just a rubber ball for the headpiece, whatever paints I had laying around. And so now getting to turn it into a cosplay, getting to upgrade it into a cosplay that I would feel proud at my current skill level to wear to a con, just was really special for me to get to go back and make something that, you know, younger me wanted to make. This is the first time that I've ever gone back to modify a project, and I'm definitely going to be doing it again. Probably starting with my handmaiden flame gown that I made the year before I made this one. So I really hope that this was as enjoyable for you to watch as it was for me to do. So thank you.
So I'm trying it on for the first time before I disassemble it to paint. I'm so happy.